Hi guys, welcome to Vote Premiership Preview. Today we are going to preview what is going to happen throughout this weekend. There are a whole number of games happening in the Premiership. First, I'm going to give you the fixtures of this weekend's game. 12:30, that's the first game. Westham versus Chelsea. Our guy here is a West Ham fan. So
I don't know why I'm not wearing my jerseys today, man.
We'll see what happens. So West Ham versus Chelsea, Fulham versus Newcastle, Aston Villa versus Wolves, Leicester City versus Everton, Liverpool versus Bournemouth, Tottenham Hotspur versus Brentford, Southampton versus Ipswich, Crystal Palace versus Manchester United. On Sunday is the big one. We call it the Super Sunday. The Super Sunday, we have Brighton versus Nottingham Forest and Manchester City versus Arsenal. Okay, let's start with the early kickoff, guys. West Ham versus Chelsea. Let me start with the West Ham fan here because I keep saying I don't know why, how. I don't know how. Don't
go there.
He became a West Ham fan. But let's leave it now. Okay, let's talk about the first game, West Ham versus Chelsea. As a fan, as your club, what are you expecting in that game?
You know, I remember 3 years ago when we kind of dealt Chelsea a blow, kind of clipped their wings from going into the top four, finishing ahead of them, going into and also getting onto the finals of the Europa League that season, semi-finals, and we lost against Frankfurt. So I remember that season vividly in my head when we did a double against Chelsea. It was like, can we do this again? And after that, we kind of dropped off. Whenever we played the London Derby, it's always hard. They had for us to win. They even had for us to score goals. But all the same, this season, Maresca is cooking, but in food goes soon born. Okay, we don't know. Last, now Sancho 9 minutes, and we know how Sancho take the play. Though I know this guy has gone because we had to let him go. I don't know why, but Ben Johnson was a good right back and a good defensive midfielder, but he left at the end of the season. And Wan-Bissaka don't replace him. So we'll see Wan-Bissaka they fully fit for that match. And I hope Emerson does not make the same mistake he made in the first game of the season.
Okay, John. Do you think that Sancho should be starting? He got the man of the match just playing about 40 minutes or 45 minutes in the last game. Now, do you think that Maresca should be starting? Modric is out of it. Modric won't start. It's Madueke and Sancho. But in this Chelsea team, what are you expecting? Do you expect Sancho to be starting that game?
Given the fact that Modric has been dropped, and also given the fact that we are seeing rumors in the press that he could be leaving in January, everything is still up for grabs. I would think that they would go with Sancho. You know, one of the big statements that Chelsea made when they pulled that deal through was that this is a player they want and they want to see in the team for a long time. And even though he's coming in just now, he's going to be on a permanent deal and all of that. So I think given the intent behind his purchase, Chelsea should be starting him. Also, you know, if you look at his performance in their last game, he gave a good performance, and I think that would be the way that Chelsea would want to go forward with. So starting him in that position and then playing him should be a thing that they need to do to bed him into the team.
Starting him, benching him, it don't really mean anything. That be Wan-Bissaka.
Now go still collect.
That be Wan-Bissaka. Now Wan-Bissaka.
Now go still collect.
Now Aaron 1-1B. You understand? I say call him. But I look at it now. Everybody says Sancho. It's not about creating chances. I've said this 1,000 times. Chelsea have the squad depth. They have 46 players in their side. Though the coach said he only works with 21. They have 50 players in their side. That's not their problem. I only have 24. And my 24 is good enough. Though Ward-Prowse is on loan, and I'm missing a set piece specialist right now. But Chelsea has always had it difficult defending set pieces, and they've always had it difficult controlling the midfield. If you look at it, they're always playing a reckless midfield ball, not really dominant in midfield.
That's goals from you,
if they bring in Sancho, and Bissaka will put down for, you understand, when they put Mo Salah regularly, they go put down for that same place. You understand? That's now one. Then two, I'm looking at my forward line. Anthony should be on top form. He should learn to bully these defenders. He's strong enough. He's big enough.
That's all he does, man. He doesn't even get in on the goals as much as he should.
He gets in on the goals, but now the work we will give him. We're not telling say, now striker will say, come, bully defenders. Make other people face score goal. We're not telling say, make us score goal. You get, and when he's on top form, you see Bowen and what's it called, Mohamed Kudus. I'm even calling. If I call the old Man U West Ham 9-0, Chelsea players no reach, but more say as I get. But I'm just me now an early kickoff, so I don't go to say we'll go win, and Chelsea no go win. More just settle for 1-1 point. Everybody rest. You understand?
Okay. Your prediction for that game?
I don't talk already.
1-1.
I said it already. 1-1. A draw. A draw is good.
What's the prediction for that game?
Chelsea edging it out 2-1.
Okay, let's move on to the 3 p.m. fixtures. Let's start with Liverpool versus Bournemouth. Arsenal won their Champions League game, but they lost to Nottingham Forest at home. Now they are playing at home again against this Bournemouth side. what are you expecting? And start to win comfortably the way they did with AC Milan, or will they struggle?
I don't. This is Anfield, and I want to see them maintain
That
tempo.
sentence don't cut, no worry.
This is Anfield, and I want to see them maintain tempo. They went away to the San Siro.
They play with high tempo.
They recreated the magical night in Turin, and I'm looking forward to them do the same thing against Bournemouth, because yes, they've stumbled. They lost that game against Nottingham Forest, but they need to bounce back and recover themselves quickly before the gap starts growing bigger. So that's just all I want to say about this match.
No, so what are you expecting? What are your expectations in that game?
Look at it now. I've looked at the Bournemouth side. Their tweet is still in my head from 2 weeks ago, from the Everton win, when they say, what is football again? That is what I expect them to recreate. They should come out and tweet another, what is football again, where there is no high hope of, you can't hit your hand in your chest and say this is what's going to happen. There's still always going to be a shocker. That's what football is all about. You always expect a shocker here and there. So I think for this game, you see a shocker. They signed, club record breaking for Evanisson, and he's not really got on the score sheet like that. He's not really created most chances, but he's always meeting up with those pocket spaces, creating all of those chances. But yeah, they always find it difficult bearing those chances, except for when they score 3 against Everton.
And Stott was talking in his press conference. He was talking about Nunes.
Yeah.
He was talking about Nunes had to wait for his own time. Do you think that he's right? Jota is different. Even though Jota is not a player that can score you 30 goals in a season, but potentially Nunes can actually get you that number of goals. But it's looking like Anslot is trusting Jota first. So what do you make of these two strikers, Jota, Nunes?
For me, Nunes is the cut and dry winner in any argument when we'll talk about a striker.
Because
in
going
this
to miss
position.
70 chances, score
Forget
5.
about Alami Land.
Continue,
So
Nunes.
he's the cut and dry pick in this option. The only issue with Nunes right now
Finishing.
is, yes, not even the finishing. Calm down. I say, calm down. I talk this thing. So Nunes is the cut and dry winner in this lottery now. The only difference is an issue of confidence in himself. 1, 2, the shift in management now. And Slot, like any other manager out there, is seeing somebody who is delivering for him. And you not throw away the duck that is giving you the golden egg because you want to play a traditional striker. So that's the only difference there. Yes, he has his issues in picking opportunities, finishing here and there. But let's not forget, this is the same deadly striker that Liverpool saw, poached and hunted for, and got him in. So he's going to have to wait his turn, and then he will get his day in the sun. But the difference is, if Jota keeps firing, that his day in the sun is going to keep extending until he
will be there in the night.
Until he may have to seek a transfer, and
But
maybe
look at it now. And Slot making that statement, let's say he's saying the truth, because look at it now. They have squad depth everywhere. There's always competition everywhere. Luis Diaz and Cody. Slow motion Cody can play from the left.
yes.
There's Salah and Chiesa from the right. Though Elliott is injured now, we don't know when he will be back. There's now Nunes and Jota up front, which you can tell you that Jota can also play from the left, which he did for Wolverhampton Wanderers when he was playing alongside Daniel Pondes. These players can play in multiple positions. They can create you chances. I think he's looking out for a striker who doesn't really get on the score, but can join the play and build up well with the team. And I think he has that in Jota than Nunes, because Nunes is not really that fantastic joining from the play. He has all those vision, he has all those passes, he can create chances, he's good with his passes, he's good with his first touch. I can't take that away from him, but when in the build-up play, you don't see him perform really well. You don't see him make those runs that scare defenders, that opens up spaces for other players. And I think that's something that Jota has. Jota makes runs that any other person can go and poach in on the goal and score the goal, but his runs and the touches on the ball would create that chances for those players. And I think that's what the coach is looking out for. So when defenders say, oh, now this person, they score goal, if we mark him out, somebody else, he can still make runs that will open up spaces for somebody else if he's been marked out. And I think that's one thing the coach is looking out for, than having someone to just score tap-ins.
Okay, let me get your prediction for that game.
Liverpool to win that 1-2-1, but I'm just expecting it. I just want football to happen again. Anything can just be shocker in that.
John, yes, your prediction?
Liverpool to win it 2-0.
Okay, let's move on to the next game. All this game at 3 p.m. The next game is Aston Villa versus Wolves. Aston Villa, Emery is cooking. You cannot take this thing. I don't care what anybody is saying, but Emery is a good coach. He won his first Champions League game comfortably. Now he is winning Premiership game. He dragged Aston Villa to a top 4 team, and he bought well. He promoted some players in his squad. He has coached that team, and if you look at him, the way he conducts his press conference, he does not insult anybody.
Yes.
He doesn't even show anger.
Yeah.
Even when we are taunting him about the way he good bedding or the way he was pronouncing words, he didn't bother. He would smile and answer, but he has been building. But in this game, what are you expecting for Aston Villa to be winning this game against Wolves? Well, he's wearing the Wolves jersey. So
well, I'm wearing their jersey today. So I just feel like I can't call this one.
You can't call.
I can't call it because John is doing a good job at both, while Unai Emery is doing a good job at Aston Villa. So you can't just call it. You see these guys sit deep, play counter-attacking football. You see some players are on top of their form. The likes of Cunha and many of them are on top of their forms, and they are playing good midfield football. You understand? Mario as well is playing good midfield football. You see them play like the goal against, I think, their last game, where they flick on, or perhaps the opening of leg that dragged the defender off. You see them play something like that. And I'm just looking at Aston Villa and I'm like, okay, Oli Watkins, John Duran, who else?
Duran, yeah. 2 strikers are enough for
Two
your
strikers.
team.
No, not like create chances. Who else can maybe Onana can just come in and score from the from set pieces because of his height and dominance in midfield. But aside that, what else can they offer? Pau Torres in defense. That's just the names I could call. But
come on, man.
I'm just saying it's a flat out 50-50 game.
What I
Because the way I could call names of players here, same name I can call stars here, is just flat out 50-50 by individual brilliance. It's 50-50. So you can't just say this person will edge it out over this person.
John,
now you just have to introduce the coaches.
This is where I'm going to take a stand, rather than playing the field like he is talking about both sides, giving both of them their flowers. At the end of the day, in 90 minutes, this game has to be a win for Aston Villa. Aston Villa have a lot to lose than Wolves in this context. If you put things in perspective, Aston Villa have a lot to lose if they lose this match. They are going to drop off the top 3. So they need to win this game, and they have the tools in the shop to get it done. Now Wolves, they are just going to sit back and hit on the brake. But Aston Villa have the opportunity and the capacity within the side to play attacking, pressing football and get those wins. The strikers they have up forward have been scoring for fun. They've even cancelled a couple of their goals in their encounter in the last match. That tells you that these guys, if they go out again against Wolves in their fixture, they are going to create chances. They know how to take chances, and they are relentless. If you saw them in that game against Young Boys, they could have scored their 1 goal and sat back and defended normally. They ensured they got 3-0. And that's what it's all about. The mentality shift is different.
Emery actually changed that whole team.
Yes.
The way Arteta changed Arsenal, I think Emery changed the whole mentality of the team. Okay, let's get your prediction for that game. Aston Villa, your straight prediction. Okay, you said draw.
I just said a draw.
Okay, 1-1 draw, 2-2 draw.
A draw is good enough. I don't know how many scorers they have, but I'm just scared of the defense attack line, so a draw is good.
John, he said win, so
I'm going to say a 2-1 win.
A 2-1 win. Okay, let's move on to the next game. It's Leicester City versus Everton. Everton is conceding useless goals. They will go ahead and score 2 goals and they will lose probably by 3-2. They did that against Bournemouth. They did that against Aston Villa, right? So when they came back to score, they considered 3 goals in the final 2. So I don't know what is happening to Everton, but let's talk about Leicester City first, because our guy is there, Ndidi, and had 2 assists last week, and he's playing like a bit advanced in this Leicester team. He's allowed, instead of for him to be a defensive midfielder, I think the coach is allowing him to be a box-to-box midfielder. So he's moving, attacking, and defending. But generally, Leicester City versus Everton, John.
Yeah, Leicester City, I've seen them in this Premier League season. Kudos to the top man up front, Jamie Vardy. Any day, anytime, strong.
Mr. Dependable.
Mr. Dependable came through last weekend, got a goal. I am loving the Leicester City lineup. They need some reinforcements, no doubt, but they have some strong characters within the side. On the other flip side, you look at Everton. Everton has been, let me say, a couple of losses now. It's not looking good the way they've lost their games.
They lost their game. Like, it's crazy how they lose their game.
It's crazy. In their last game, it was 9 minutes. They got that 3rd goal and they lost the goal, whereby they had scored 2, and these guys were able to come back into the game and get the winning goal. So Everton need to tighten up the defense. Sean Dyche, I don't.
And it's surprising because that's what they know Sean Dykes for, defending.
Yeah.
Being considered this kind of goals. So, what's wrong with Everton? Do you think
look at it
Everton
now.
should move on from
when you say
Sean Dyche?
Sean is a good coach. Sean is a good coach, but this is not Burnley, where they don't get the finance to get you midfielders. The Everton side does not play sit back and play on the counter attack. But when you came into the Everton side, you brought in players from Burnley, the likes of McNeil, that could just run and play reckless shots on the goalkeeper off target. So you can't bring in players like this for an attacking side that plays dominant football. You saw Everton during the lifetime of Lukaku and Moyes. They played in midfield. The Colemans, they played in midfield. They dominated the game. Even if they're not going to score plenty of goals, they would always keep the ball in the middle of the park and play. They don't sit deep. They don't play a gang press like Liverpool. They sit in midfield and control the game from the middle. But for Sean Dyche, is sit deep and play counter attack, which is poor for the side because this side
it's not working out for them.
It's not working. So when you score the first 2 goals and you want to sit deep or you want to start playing the compact midfield game, these players already know that, see, if we come at you, you will break down because you as a coach don't have the tactical nous to play a compact midfield game. And that's where the problem is. You score the early goal and you relax.
How do you make about Ndidi's performance this season? He has been phenomenal for Leicester City.
Yeah, Ndidi and Ndidi, Fatawu and Vardy have been standout performance from the games I've seen. I like to see, and this is another kudos to the manager because certain managers know how to come into your life, into your game and change the way you play your game for the better. We didn't see this side of him. He's always been, even when playing alongside
Telemans.
Yes, he's always been the one sitting back while Telemans has been the alternating midfielder, and now he gets to play that role. Hopefully, I can see him get some assists and a couple of goals too, because we love to see him have that.
If you look at the coach, Cooper does not sit deep. He does not say, okay, let this person be the holding midfielder. All the midfielder roams. That's one thing with Cooper. All midfielders roam. If you know you can move the ball forward, move it forward. If you know you can sit deep and see a forward pass like Casemiro, do it. But what we want is, once you want to drive, make sure when you're driving, drive in the direction that you will not lose the ball and expose the defense line into a goal threat. And that's what he's been doing all through the season. That's why when you see him drive the ball forward, there's always midfielders around him or perhaps players around him that could shield him in case he loses the ball. So with that, when you have that kind of backing that, okay, these people are shielding me from losing the ball, you would have a clear head of seeing a visible forward pass, a creative pass, and making the final pass. It's just that for the coach, and the coach is doing well to shield his players, and I think that's good.
That's good. What's your prediction for that game?
Man,
you have to support Ndidi. Give to Leicester the win. Give Leicester the win.
Man,
okay, what's your prediction?
Well, Leicester to win though.
Leicester to win. What's the goal margin?
Just 1-0.
1-0. John?
It's going to be a draw. A draw.
Okay, let's talk about Fulham versus Newcastle. These are two good sides. Premiership gives us. Outside them, I see it as a middle team game, but if you watch this game, there's intense. There's fun to watch some of these games. But if you look at Fulham bought where they bought Miro, bought Nelson.
They bought Arsenal graduates.
Calm down. Then, if you look at what Newcastle is building too, Newcastle are building a good side. They qualified for the Champions League last season. Unfortunately for them, last 2 seasons they qualified for the Champions League.
They played the Champions League last season.
Yes,
they played the Champions League
but
last
this season,
they finished after the pressure of playing in the Champions League.
They finished way below the Champions League side. But now they are playing the Fulham side, and Fulham is playing at home. Are you expecting Newcastle, because they performed magic last week after going 1 goal down against Wolves? They came back to win that game, two goals, and Barnes scored that beautiful second goal, and that goal was the R2. If you play PS, the R2 was lovely. He banged that goal. But generally that game, how are you seeing that game pan out?
Did you notice that in that game there was no Eddie Howe in the sidelines?
Yes, I think he was suspended.
Suspension or maybe sickness, I don't know. But look at it now. A coach like that, he's not available. There's somebody else that could do his job for him. It tells you that the whole coaching staff are smart. Not really the one you say the assistant coach is there while the main coach is upstairs because he's suspended, receiving phone calls. You understand? After 5 minutes, they call him on phone to do something. The assistant coach was standing by the side, thinking for his own self, how can he make the game change? And after that first goal from Wolverhampton Wanderers, the last game, they kind of dominated, played a good football until they got the result they were looking for, a win, a 2-1 win. And it tells you that everybody on that side, the tactical team, are smart enough to be the head coach of the side, which is why I'm seeing Newcastle as a team that will go on to be a big side in the nearest future, perhaps this current 10 years run now, because 2 seasons ago, top 4, this season, top 6, or last season, top 6 or top 8. In the nearest future, I'm seeing them finishing in that top 6 or big 6 name. They'll end that they are right in being in the big 6. And I think for this, as smart as the side coaches are, they can also go on to win this game.
I think if you look at that game and what happened given that circumstance, it's a callback to when we had the Big Sam, Little Sam in the Premier League. So when Big Sam was because when Big Sam was there and Little Sam was able to come in, get the job done, and then that also gave him his opportunity to get his own job elsewhere. So kudos to the team, but in this encounter, I'm not going to write off Fulham.
No, nobody's writing off Fulham.
Not writing off Fulham.
They lost their Carabao Cup against a championship side.
Yeah, but we're not going to write them off. They still have the talent and the manpower within the side to get a result. It's now Newcastle being able to maintain their pace. Can they maintain their pace for the 90 minutes? Or are they going to get an early goal and think the game is over and then let off the pedal? Because your eye needs to be on the ball 247 till the end of that 90 minutes. And that's where a couple of teams get it wrong. So let's see how it's going to be. It could be a draw. I'm not going to call it a Newcastle win, even though Newcastle have the capacity to win the match. But let's see how it goes.
Okay, what's your prediction?
Newcastle to win. They have the intelligence on the sidelines.
Okay, let's move on to the next game. Is Southampton versus Ipswich. 2 small teams.
Not two small teams. They dominated the championship last season.
Not 2 small teams. Okay, let me correct that. Not 2 small teams, but they are a good side, but they are playing each other. This is where you need to take points from each other to survive the Premier League. Because for example, you're not expecting Ipswich to go and beat probably Arsenal or Manchester United or Manchester City. It's hard, but these kind of games, you need to take 3 points from also.
Now look at it. These 2 teams came from the championship last season.
They know each other
from last season. They know what their strengths are, and I think Newcastle kind of brought in players, while Ipswich kind of brought in veterans, experienced players. So I said Newcastle. Southampton brought in players, while McKinnon on the other hand brought in veterans in the game to help him groom the young side they have. And you say this team might go on to be one of the revelations of the season, though they are not really showing that
they are losing back to back.
So I think this is where they make their stand now. Are we going to continue losing games like Luton Town did last season, or are we going to stop losing games now and make a statement? Like we've lost, we are in the bottom of the table. Can we salvage some points and come out for this place where we did?
John, let me ask you, because sometimes I think it's a coach problem. If you look at Burnley, when Company took them from the Championship to the Premier League, they were playing good football. He wanted to implement that kind of football in the Premier League with the same kind of players. It did not work.
No.
Now, if you look at Ipswich again, they played good football last season in the Championship. He's trying to implement. He was trying to implement the same thing in the Premier League, and it's not working. Do you think that when they're coming to Premier League, they need to change their tactics a little bit?
You know where it makes sense? Where it makes sense is, for Burnley last season, they were losing and they were not scoring goals. Though they scored goals. I'm
talking about when Company was there. They scored a whole lot of goals.
Saying, that's the same thing I'm saying. When Company was there as the head coach
in the championship,
they scored plenty of goals. Then when they came into the Premier League, they were not scoring goals. The goals scored lost.
That's what I'm saying.
But for Ipswich, McKenna has found a way to score goals even while he was losing.
Okay, what I'm asking is that, do you think that coaches should come to the Premier League and change their tactics a little bit? Because the Premiership is a little bit above, the level is there, football is above what they face in Championship. Yeah,
the way I see it, you coming into the Premier League, you're getting a £60 million budget from the EFL to come into the Premier League. The players you have already, players who are on low pay, if you put any of the Premier League team against these sides, these teams and these sides, just look at player salary and player wages, they are worth multiple £100 million, and you're coming into the Premier League with a £60 million budget and a couple of players, maybe you got in on loan, maybe a couple of unknowns who have shone like diamond in the rough, and they're in the side now. All I'm saying is, if you have a formula that works in the championship, gets you results, gets you win, gets you into the Premier League, you shelve that formula and survive the Premier League first.
I think that's
before
nice.
You revisit that formula, because company's undoing was he won with a formula and a philosophy in the championship, came into the Premier League against players who, let's call it what it is, you have a player players who are way better than your players, who move faster than your players, who think faster than your players, against sides that have spent 300 million pounds. And you want to play the same progressive football. You need to be a bit more conservative. You need to be a bit more compact. You need to play a kind of game whereby you absorb pressure and then you hit on the brake, because you can't match them foot for foot every day. You can play a Chelsea 80 minutes and Chelsea have not scored. You think you're patting yourself on the back. At least you walk away with a draw. 2 minutes to go, Chelsea gets to go, you lose 3 points.
There's something the Barnsley manager said after losing that game to Man United. He said his players always see the Premier League side play sluggishly and like, these people are not good enough. And he says anytime any of his players make that kind of statement, he will give the person a hot slap. It seems these players, when they play in the championship, because of the fixture congestion in Champions League, I think they play more than 42.
Yes.
42 games in the championship. So because of that, playing 42 games, when they come and see against a team in the Premier League, they feel like since we've been playing like this, we've been playing with this kind of intensity, we've been struggling, busting our nuts just to get here. We are here now. We can challenge anybody. So it's not about the coach's conservative tactics. It's about the players saying, okay, fine, we play against this side. We can run them. Since we have that intensity in us, we're a young side. It's only the experience that we don't have. We can still use our strength, our pace to outrun them. Forgetting that these players, it's just like when I played against a senior team in Owerri, and I'm like, see, let's play like this. And they're like, bros, we go use our strengths, run them down. They don't get strength. All these men are old men. And luckily, all these men are old men beat us 5-1. The only one who will stop, because those old men know when to stop a pass. Knows when to position themselves for you to not to see a pass in. They know, as in like, they read the games 7 steps ahead of you. It's just like playing chess against an amateur. When you're seeing the board 7 steps ahead of the player you're playing against. So it's like playing chess against us. And I was like, see, conserve. Let's see if we can play long balls and use our run. But they're like, no, all these old men kind of kept scoring goals against us. So I'm thinking this is what happens now. It's not about the coach anymore. Maybe the coach is giving that instruction, but the players are just too stubborn to keep with it, because they're believing that they are faster, they are stronger, and they are younger than the Premier League players.
I don't think any player will go against a coach's instruction.
No, come on.
Another thing I want to call to mind is, let's not forget that in the championship, for every accolade or whatever they have in the championship football is more physical than the Premier League. Premier League is more tactical, more technical. And there's just some numbers. They call it numbers or objects you don't see. There are some numbers you don't see, that when you come against a Premier League team, they see those numbers and they know how to exploit them to get the win against you. And they need to find a way to break the jinx. For me, Southampton has been a Premier League club for a couple of decades before they went on relegation. Yes. And whoever is taking that job needs to sit up and make sure that they do not go down again. Because those are, Arsenal bought a couple of players off them. I'm remembering the likes of the Walcotts and the Ramseys.
You're forgetting about the Van Dijks and the
Van Dijk, the Vestergaard, Sadio Mane,
and all of that.
So they need to ensure that heritage doesn't go back down to the championship.
Let's get your prediction for that game. Southampton versus Ipswich.
Southampton should be winning, but it could be a draw.
Like you said, it could be a draw. Not draw, it could be.
Okay, the final game for the 3 p.m. fixtures is Spurs versus Brentford. Our guy wins trophies in his second season.
Come on,
he survived this Carabao Cup when his team scored in the 88th minute and the 90th minute. He survived. I was thinking that he's going to lose that game, so somehow he won that. So he had to introduce everybody in the second half. He was introduced some.
He has to save his name. Now he has made mouth. Now he has to back it up.
He said that, and after he said it's just the truth, he's stating fact. Now for him to state fact and stand by it, you need to win Carabao. Ordinary
Carabao Cup. One trophy.
You understand? Because they call it ordinary, maybe big tournament, but ordinary Carabao Cup. You need to win, not lose against a relegation side. And you see when they consider a goal, I think he made the sub in the 75th minute where he brought in his full team. the likes of Son, Madison, all of them, and they came to rescue that game for him. And I feel like, okay, this man he knows that's why Mourinho will not pity you. Mourinho will play starting 11 in any tournament.
I'm telling you, against any team,
just to make sure
they play Coventry.
He don't understand. Mourinho will play his starting lineup against any team just to make sure he wins that tournament. And I think he's learnt the hard way after going one goal down. He's learnt the hard way. And in this weekend, we'll see him introduce some other players. I'm just looking at this weekend game. What he did against Arsenal didn't work, where he played Bentancur and Maddison.
Yeah.
It's a good one. If you're playing against a team that sits deep, you play Bentancur and Maddison, you're good. But if you're playing against a team that wants to attack as well, please, Sarr is on the bench. Introduce him. I know Bissouma is not available right now. He's not available. He maybe let him be where he is. But use Sarr for me. Let him play that defensive midfield position while Maddison plays ahead of him and control the attacking line. It's just going to work out that way. But if he continues to tinker with Bentancur and Maddison and no defensive midfielder, he will continue to expose his back line to reckless goals.
John, the last game for Brentford, they played against Manchester City. They played against Manchester City, and Pep was praising their coach, saying that what he just needs is not for him to just coach one big club and he will explode. But if you look at this Brentford side, they are building small. They are moving. If you look at where they will finish 15, finish 14, finish. So they're always around that middle table, but they are always surviving. Since they came up from the championship, they are always surviving. And this their coach have actually taken them far. Now, against Spurs, are you expecting them to get a result against Spurs, even though they are playing away?
You know, Thomas Frank is one manager I respect, and he's earned the right to be in the Premier League. Against Spurs, they are playing a better side, let's call it as it is, irrespective of whoever is starting for Spurs. They are playing a better side, and they need to perfect the act of waiting for their moments against Spurs, because anyhow you want to look at it, with their high line and the way they open up spaces, phantom spaces, they call it phantom spaces. You think you have a player here, all of a sudden in movement that space comes up, somebody is already in there. So they need to just time their attack and they will get chances against Spurs. But one of the hallmarks of a good coach, even when you are using a weaker team, is you know how to read the opponents and exploit their weaknesses, and he needs to be able to do that against Angers to get a result here. But I don't think him managing Brentford against Spurs should be grounds for him to lose this match. He can't afford to lose this match, because games are going to be coming in thick and fast, and every game counts, because you can't throw away this week's game and say next week you win. Nothing is promised in football. So he needs to take the game head on and get something from this game.
What are your predictions for that game?
It's a close one. I'm going to call it a draw.
A draw. You know so.
And you go on revenge. Because he lost last game against Arsenal. It's the Premier League, Carabao Cup is different.
Brentford lost their game against Manchester City.
It's going to be tough, because I see Richard Mbemo is back. I see them, though they've let this guy go. And Frank Onyeka is no longer there. He went to Augsburg I think was on a loan also in the last days of the transfer market. So they don't have that defensive midfielder yet to take on the side. So I'm just looking at the attack line and the defense line as strong as it is, but I still see the lack and that open space in midfield. So I'm going to call it a win for Tottenham Hotspur.
A win for Tottenham Hotspur. Okay, that's all for the 3 p.m. For the last game on Saturday is Crystal Palace versus Manchester United. Okay, we are going to stay a little bit for Manchester United, because they won their game in Carabao Cup 7-0. Everybody is praising them, but they are now back to the Premier League, where they are finding it difficult to win games.
That's reality.
Yeah, they are playing a Crystal Palace side that is good. They are good, and they are playing away. Last season, they lost 4-0 when they went to Crystal Palace to play there. They lost 4-0, but they are trying to revenge. I think this is a year of revenge. So they are trying to revenge. And Ten Hag was talking about, in his press conference, he was talking about Anthony again. He said Anthony should train harder, that he has to earn his own rights to play the first team football. But generally, guys, if you look at that game, Crystal Palace, do you think that Manchester United, John, can win Crystal Palace comfortably? Or let me move comfortably, can win? Because you cannot put comfortably with Manchester United in the Premier League.
You can't put comfortably, you can't put guarantee.
There's no sentence that comes with Man United and comfortable.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Definitely not.
So John, what do you think?
For me, it's going to be a close game, but it's only going to be a close game if Manchester United wake up and start this game right. I keep saying it that they keep starting games 30 minutes, 40 minutes into the match. And against a Crystal Palace side that know how to attack, they have star players in there to hurt you. They have the capacity to do anything to you. Because they are playing at home, they have the fans behind them. They have everything that they should be looking for to get a result out of that match. They need to start the game at the blow of the whistle. And if they do that, they can come away with a win. But if they don't do that, it's going to be a bloody one.
In their last game, they were lucky because if the opponent has scored that penalty, that game would have changed. Like John is saying, they start in a slower pace. They somehow they will just put up the gear and probably try and score a goal. But in that game, no so. Manchester United winning against Crystal Palace. Do you think it's possible?
2 players came back from injury and they've been training since Tuesday. Mount and Hewland are back now. Now look at it. Man United, for me, like I used to say, when they signed Mount from Chelsea, he was a good player. They sang him praises. I could go back and
you said he was. Is he not a good player?
No, he was for them. No, I'm not a Man United fan. I'm just saying he was a good player. They sang him praises. But now it's like everybody is criticizing Mount, everybody is criticizing Bruno, everybody is criticizing Casemiro. And these are the players that when they signed them into Man United, they were like, oh, we are going to win this trophy, we are going to win the World Cup, even we are going to destroy everything that happens to football and recreate a new history. Yet what's happening to these players now? They are struggling to meet up with the coach's tactics. They are struggling to meet up with the pace of the Premier League. Now you're signing in Ezekski, and after first game, reality hit him that Premier League is quite different. And now they've got a new excuse. He's not here to score 1,000 goals. He's just here to place chances. Come on, that's not the excuse. Man United fans will always, at least now they're even trying to raise excuse to back the player than criticize the players. And I like this part of them where they back the player instead of criticize the player. Last season, Crystal Palace did a double ahead of them. 1-0 win in the first leg at Old Trafford. 4-0 win at the Crystal Palace Stadium. Now this game will be tough for Ten Hag because they will want to rejuvenate Man United. They will want to be like, see, we lost against this team. We need to make a statement that this team are not better than us. And with that, they will be looking for a win. But right now, I'm not seeing that win come forth.
Okay, but generally, Ten Hag, talking in his press conference, he is thinking that he feels that his Manchester United have arrived. That they are capable of now playing any team and winning. Do you think he's right?
If you want to play, when he said that, I think he felt like he has credible replacement in his positions, because you look at Eriksen and the combination of Ugarte and Casemiro starting. Ugarte was dominant in defensive midfield, while Casemiro was given that flair to move ahead and score goals, which means there was, whenever they lose the ball, there's always somebody backing him up. And I think that's what Man United has lacked over the years: a credible defensive midfielder that has legs and pace. Cassie is already old, and Eriksen as well. What's it called? Competition for Kobe Mainoo. So you see, there's competition in places. Now, this is what it means by a coach or a team has arrived. When there's competition for places on the side, you get where every defender. Look at when they started with Evans and Maguire. Though we know
He is Carabao Cup. They can start with anybody.
When you look at the way they played, even against the last game that they won, you get, when you look at the way they played or the way they played against Liverpool, you see that whenever they take out a player, bring in a player, there's always these players that want to fight. Against Liverpool, they took out Casemiro and brought in Toby Koila. And he did well. He struggled for balls. He won some tackles. He moved forward than Cassie did in the whole of the first half. So it tells you that when there's competition for places, then you have selection headache. Then your team has arrived. You get. But aside that, I'm just saying they will just. This is not a team to call it yet. It's still early to call it. But when he said his team has arrived, I feel like because there's now because as an outsider, I'm saying that when you have a team to compete, when there's competition for places, then yet you can go on to win trophy. Not when you have just one player playing in one position and you know there's no sub. You can wake up the next morning and begin to misbehave.
Okay, John, that game. Do you think that he's saying that probably is it because he won that against a championship side or a championship side for 7-0? He thinks that his team is playing well, but in this Crystal Palace game, he needs to win.
For me, one thing I'm going to say is, I said it before that Ten Hag will be taken by his words and he's going to be snared by his words. But one thing, listening to that and what I'm going to say is, never get high off your own supply. Don't even believe your own hype. Stay humble, put your head down, get to work. Whether they applaud you, don't acknowledge. Whether they give you flack, don't acknowledge. Focus on the work. And for him to come out and make that statement, it shows me that the mentality that is working with is not quality enough. How do you tell me that you have a team that has arrived when your replacement, like you were saying, replacement for position is a 31-year-old Eriksen? You have Casemiro in there. You have a Toby Coyler who is young coming in. What are those replacements?
You look at when they played against Liverpool. I still make statements with big names, with big games, not really the small. I didn't just say against Burnley or perhaps the last game they played. The way they played against Liverpool, Toby Coyler came in as a midfielder.
Sure.
Against Burnley in the Carabao Cup, he came in as a left back. Where there's another left back on the bench, Harry Amas, who's not been played yet. There's a player, what's it called, in the midfield now. I've forgotten his name so far. There are young players in the side that could come in. You get? There are players that could compete for places, not just the 38-year-old man. Because those 38, if you remember, I said this before, you need to know how to mix experience and youth to get a proper team.
Granted.
And I think with Eriksen back in the side, you see that Eriksen, with the position, Eriksen hardly loses the ball.
Granted.
Casemiro and Ugarte hardly loses the ball. So with Kobbino coming in to learn from this kind of players and hardly loses the ball himself, you could say that it's a proper blend of experience and youth.
Granted, but not the Man U standard. They need to get better players and they need to up their performance levels. Let's call it as it is.
Okay, what is the prediction for that game?
For that game, Crystal Palace will win or draw.
Win or draw. Okay, no. So, what is the prediction for that game?
But I'm still going to hedge my bet on this one because you can't call it that Man U will win. They are looking for revenge, and teams that are looking for revenge are always desperate.
Okay, let's move on to Sunday game. In Sunday game by 2 p.m., it's Brighton versus Nottingham Forest. Brighton is a club that I don't know how to explain them. Any coach that enters them somehow, he plays well. I think it's the vision of the club. They transfer to the coach. They will tell you, we don't buy big players, but we need you to play attractive football. So whether it's Potter or is the Marseille coach, what's his name?
De Zerbi,
or this new guy, everybody has been playing attractive football, and somehow they finish around that mid-table, which I think they are happy with it. But if you look at that game happening 2 p.m., what are your expectations against Nottingham Forest? Because Nottingham Forest is a good team too.
Look at it now. With Nottingham Forest,
yes,
you expect different things. For Brighton, they've gone in, like I said before, you get a coach. You understand? You get a coach that sees into the philosophy of the team.
Yes.
You get, so it's not about seeing into your style of play first before getting a coach that sees into that philosophy. Before Pep Guardiola came into Man City, he had a Roberto Mancini and
they were playing attacking football.
They were playing attacking football, and he had a Pellegrini that also passes tiki-taka because Pellegrini played tiki-taka football, but it didn't work at Westham. He played tiki-taka conservative attacking football, got them to the semi-finals of the World Champions League. That was the first time. Then Mancini as well, who also went on to finish in the top league and won the league for them. Now look at it, they played conservative attacking football. Now for you to get another coach, you don't just go in and say, I want to get a Mourinho in who can play defensive football. Or you don't just go in and say, I want to get a Zidane in who can play counter-attacking football. Look at it now. Zidane plays counter-attack. Mourinho plays defensive, conservative midfield game. Not much of an attacking game. So you look at who else can fit into this play and improve
your squad.
The side. So it's the next person on the list is Pep Guardiola. Now for West Ham, you've gone from Slavic to Redknapp to all of that. Now you got into Pellegrini, who didn't really do well. Then you came to Moyes and you got results. Now look at it. For Brighton, they've got De Zerbi, Potter, De Zerbi, now Fabian. Look at the style of play. Everybody likes to play progressive attacking football with conservation to the defensive midfield. Now that is where their highlight is, not really the attacking. Look at the attacking side, but always look at the time. The defensive midfielder is always there to intercept, create chance. The defensive midfielder is always there to create most of the chances, better than the attacking midfielder they've got in the side. So it's about who can cover the back line and still progress with the team, so the defenders does not suffer from counter attack. That is what they've always played like, and I think Fabian has just come in, got a way to perhaps seal the back line and help them improve in that regard. So I'm saying Brighton is just a good coach, not really a good coach, but a good team.
Nuno is doing very well at Nottingham Forest. Santo is doing very well at Nottingham Forest, but do you think it's the game he should be winning? Because for you to survive the Premier League, you should at least get a point from that game, even though he's playing away.
One of the facts I just want to call up here is because, and you may not like what I'm going to say now, but against relegation rivals or mid-table rivals, you can't afford to lose these games, and you can't afford to draw too, because too many draws and you're back in that
That
in
fight.
that fight again, and nobody wants to be in that fight. So make it while the sun shines. And for Nuno needs to play would I say a counter-attacking game now against Brighton, because I can't tell you that Nuno is going to match them blow for blow, pound for pound. I can't tell you that.
Okay, let's
Brighton
he brought in plenty of midfielders that could hold on to themselves.
It's going to take them time to adjust, but I'm going to tell you that I don't see him matching them blow for blow, pound for pound. He just has to maximize what's been working for him. The way they get their goals from their set pieces, the way they get their goals from their counter-attacking, and then hold up a solid back four, do not concede any careless goals, and you can survive this game.
Okay, what's your prediction for that game before we move over to the biggest game of the weekend? What's your prediction?
I'm going to say Brighton edging it out.
Okay, Nonso.
Nunes versus Santos all the way, a draw.
A draw. Okay, now finally the big game of the weekend is Manchester City versus Arsenal. Let's talk about that. Okay,
that game can be tiring. No matter how you sing the praises of that game, it can be tiring.
It can be tiring. John is a City fan. He's wearing a City jersey already. So, but if you look at that game, Arsenal have injuries coming now. Manchester City have their own injuries worries. De Bruyne went off in the first half of their Champions League, but these are two title contenders for the past 2 seasons now. They are facing each other again this season. What are you expecting? I'm wearing an Arsenal jersey, so I'm expecting Arsenal to win. But John here is a City fan. John, what are your expectations? Do you think that Pep can do one over Arteta again this season?
I think the student has a lot to learn from the master, and on Sunday he's going to learn another lesson.
Another lesson
on Sunday.
What lesson are you? Waiting they want teach.
Now waiting
they want teach again.
No. Now waiting they talk last season until students collect 4 points, hide them for back.
Until students they finish entitled second position.
It's just
simple.
See, you know the hype around.
Take your 4 points out of a river. The river doesn't even know you visited.
See,
that's
look
what
at
Man
it. Look
City
at this is the bias John comes with.
I'm just
look at
calling
Man City
it
fans
as
saying
it is, simple
Pep
and
is a great
short.
man, that is his tactical manager. A PE teacher. A PE once upon a time PE teacher.
Where the PE teacher finish? Where the PE answer now? Where the PE teacher
points from Pep. Still finish second.
Thank you. Who won it? Who won it?
Down. Leave that part.
Answer now. You can't raise it up and
Liverpool,
then want to shy away
Liverpool won
from
it that season.
Who won
Liverpool.
it? Who won it?
Liverpool. The season
Did the season end?
Season end now.
Season no end. Now what are you telling me? Season no end. That's COVID season, bro. What are you telling me? Season no finish.
Okay.
Season no finish. Simple and short.
Let's say with Arsenal.
And that's the only one he won under Pep. Continue.
Look at it now. Now everything they talk. So many they hype the man.
Season no finish, Baba. Simple and short.
Pep lost against 4 managers last season.
And still won 4 in a row.
He lived the 4 in a row.
And won the Premier League.
I'm
talking about this season. We are yet to lose. We've scored the highest number of hat-tricks. We've got the highest goal scorer in the league.
John,
I'm just calling it as it is.
I know you're passionate about City. One City to
leave this bias
I'm calling it as
against
it
Arsenal
is.
now. You lost 4 points last season, and you're saying the master.
And still won the league, irrespective.
You see, anytime where John will not get excuse, he will tell you irrespective.
We lost 4 points. We lost this, but we won the league.
If not for Aston Villa,
if Arsenal won that game,
Arsenal would have carried the league, because that was where they lost the league.
I disagree.
Let's be honest. Yes, let's be honest.
Disagree.
2 seasons ago, if not for Southampton, Arsenal would have won the league. I'm not happy about Arsenal losing the league. If not for Southampton, who came out to play 3 draws.
Let's stay with this game. What do you think will happen? John, let's leave the overall.
History.
I'm just calling it as it is, man. Come on. Show me one club this season that has a better record in the Premier League. They are sitting top.
John, if you talk about last in these games, Arsenal took 4 points from City.
Irrespective, and they still finished second.
It's not finished second. Your statement.
That's the truth. You took 4 points. Excuse me.
Leave that in.
You took 4 points from. You took 4 points from City.
What you said now was
and you gave those 4 points to Aston Villa. You gave it to other clubs.
What you said now was the master has a lot to teach the students.
Yes.
And they're not telling you that the students beat the master. as in, you don't get excuse again.
How many times he beat him? How many times he beat him? And how many times the master beat the student?
Well, let's say, look at it now. Last season, before Arsenal and Man City came onto the title hunt, as at December, who was topping the table? Everton and Tottenham Hotspur. Yes.
Nope.
I think Spurs top the table. Yeah.
Spurs and Everton they up before the first half they drop.
I'm not sure about
First
Everton, but I was
I need to show you the first 5 games of the season. Everton was up. Everton and Spurs.
As at December, Spurs and Everton were not top.
You get first 5 games of the season last season. Everton and Spurs were on top of the league.
Irrespective.
First 5 games. What happened at the end of the season? Everton they battle relegation battle. Why Spurs they find their way for what's it called? Top 5 or top 6. Now it's the same thing. Man, Arsenal might have taken the 4 points away from, but you said the student and the teacher has a lot.
Yes.
Chelsea. I'm still making instances. Chelsea and Tottenham Hotspur had a match, and they said the master and the student, Frank Lampard, under Frank, you remember Frank Lampard and Jose. Wait till happen. Frank beat them home and away. So when people say the student has a lot to learn from the master, forget them. The student don't get enough.
The student has a lot to learn from the master.
Don't get enough.
Put their record against each other side by side. Who has more wins? Who has more wins?
Leave the record.
Who has more wins? You've not answered me.
What I'm saying is,
who has more wins?
Leave the record in the backyard.
Who has more wins?
Leave the record in the backyard.
Who has more wins?
Leave that record in the backyard, because
Baba, until you answer that, you don't have anything to tell me.
What you're going to say is irrespective.
You don't have anything to tell me. That's all I know.
You said the student had a lot to learn from the master. Yes. The student collect 4 points from the master. And what came out from your mouth?
And at the end of the day, who won the league?
Irrespective.
Who won the league?
Okay.
Who won the league?
But look at it now. I'm just saying.
Who won the league?
Forget about last season. I'm just saying this season.
No, you can't forget about last season, because
this season is the first game of the season.
The data point you have for this season.
Arsenal is suffering from injury already. They don't have Odegaard. Perhaps they don't have many of the players that could come in to shun Man City. And look at the game against Inter Milan from Man City. They struggle to create chances because of how Inter Milan play.
And they are going to struggle on Sunday.
If they have a credible defense line to hold out Man City, and a credible midfield line, because you saw Barella everywhere, you saw Di Marco everywhere in that game for Inter Milan. If they could hold out the way Inter Milan did hold out against Man City in midfield and in defense, then trust me, Man City don't have any other thing to offer. Rodri's first game, he couldn't even. I don't know where he was playing. Like whether he was playing the defensive line or he was playing, because I know John will say they packed the balls. They didn't pack the balls in that game. I went back. I saw that game live. I went back to rewatch it.
If you like rewatch it 1,000 times, that's your business.
So
but
I'm just saying. Forget about last season. It's a new season. Everything can happen, because a new season. This man got 3/3 without conceding a goals, and we felt like he has arrived. Then no, Espirito Santo now showed him that no, you have not arrived though. It's still the Premier League. Things can still happen. You get. Arteta felt like he has arrived until Southampton showed him Shege. 3-3. From 3 goals ahead, he lost that game 3 because playing a draw in that match is like losing the game. 3-3, and he lost his right to the titles. Last season, the same thing. He had 8 matches to go, where he needed to win all of those 8 matches against Chelsea, against Tottenham Hotspur, against Man United, and the one he chose to lose was the one that cost him the title against Aston Villa, because he went on to win Chelsea, Spurs, Man United. He went on
and drew against City.
And he went on and drew against. If he had won the Aston Villa game and played the way he did against the rest of the big names, he would have gotten the title. So 2 years ago or 3 years ago, he lost, because that 3-3 draw and lose for me. He lost against Southampton. Now against Aston Villa, he lost woefully last season. So that was what cost him the title in this back-to-back season. I'm just saying. I want to keep that season in the past and prepare for this season. This season, I'm seeing the Man City side go on to struggle to score goals. You get, he has hat-tricks. Because before the game against Inter Milan, you also came out to say he's the highest goal scorer. Blah blah. Sentiment. You know what's the key?
I'm calling it as it is. Simple and short.
Let me tell you why I chose to support Westham United, because I could be blind. Because if I'm a Chelsea fan, I could be blinded by facts. If I'm a Man United fan, I could be blinded by facts. That's why I decided not to support any big team. That's why I decided
to be blinded by sentiment at West Ham.
I am still also not blinded by sentiment.
Well chosen.
In this game now, it's an open game.
It's an open game.
Because Arsenal has learnt. They could still is now from the same, like you said before, the book. Now you talk and I had to correct you on the show. You said Man United are beginning to steal from Arsenal's dream. And I said no, the book now Man United invent them.
I disagree.
You get the giving youth prospects the opportunity. Man United invent them.
I disagree. Manchester United took that part because of the Busby babes. Simple and short. If you say anything other than that, then you don't know football.
Before that, how many players did Arsenal promote from the youth setup? Because even the likes of Thierry Henry, they bought from Juventus. You get? Even they are big. Any player where you call legend for my Arsenal now, no be academy graduate.
Sure.
Any player where you call legend for Arsenal, as he be, as Arsenal legend, Hall of Fame, draw English. Any player where you call,
Adams and
any player where you call, you know, maybe you go see like out of
Adams.
150, my family get 4. Out of 150, then out of my United, out of 150, you get 7 or 17. So I'm just saying, let's forget about history. This Man City game against Arsenal is an open book, is an open check. Nobody knows.
It's a straight win for Man City. Simple. Whether you want to say
the same
open
thing
book,
we said about
check.
the same thing we said about
We are
Inter
going to
Milan.
counterbalance it in this weekend.
In the Inter Milan game, I said it's either
Inter Milan is Championship, Champions League. League format, that's not the same thing. This is Premier League. Simple and short.
Stop using other.
I'm just calling it as it is. We are playing a Premier League game and not a Champions League game. Simple and short.
Stop using meandering. Stop meandering around.
It's not about meandering. Call it as it is.
Because in the Champions League, you said something. You said Haaland for another hat-trick. And I told you it's a draw unless a goal was in it for anybody to win.
And just because out of 1,000 times you got one prediction right,
because you now you are
it's now canon now.
As I'm saying, I take away bias.
Is it now canon?
I still call results the way it is, and I call results the way it is, and it happens. The only time
it's not canon, bro.
The only time I put sentiment in results like that is maybe my Nigerian brothers are playing.
And your Westham and Man U, that's when you
my
put
Westham
sentiment.
is playing. Then
and your Man U.
Westham said, I said I'm holding up a draw because I know how Chelsea wants to play, and I know how Lopetegui wants to attack. So I'm just holding out for a draw in that game. I didn't say West Ham is bigger than Chelsea. I remember when West Ham beat Chelsea home and away. And since then, we've not lost 2 good legs against Chelsea. So I'm like, okay, fine. We might win 1 leg this season and lose 1.
I understand.
Same blind spot.
It's just the same thing. But I'm just saying, against Arsenal in this game, the student don't learn plenty things.
The student is going to collect
if you still
simple
collect
and short.
Points from the master,
he go still collect woto.
Okay, guys. The Premiership review is getting hot here in the studio. They don't agree. The big game on Sunday, Arsenal versus Manchester City. John is a City fan, but he feels that Arsenal will collect.
Simple.
Nonso is saying that it's an open game, which personally I believe, because somehow I support Arsenal too. But let's see how it's going to happen this Sunday. It's going to be a master versus apprentice. Okay, guys, this is how we are going to be ending the Premiership review for game week 5. Let's hope that this weekend will give us a whole lovely game. See you guys on Monday for post-match preview of all the games that happened in the weekend. See you guys later.